"Hey, when have I ever messed up?" Logan complained. "It's pretty obvious that as soon as they find a student who has been missing for a while and comes back in tattered clothes from a planet that had suffered a Dalki attack, the first thing they would do is take him to the medical facility." It was something the others hadn't thought about. They had all been too busy and focused on their problems. They didn't think this through. As they took Peter to the medical facility, Haley went ahead and ran a general check on Peter's condition. She hooked Peter up to a large, tube-like machine. The machine would show his internals and display his insides, as well as see if there was something wrong with any of his organs, including his heart. This was where Logan's ability had come to its advantage. Logan was able to fake a sickness and enter the medical facility beforehand. During this time, he had touched every machine available there. While doing so, he had taken control of the machines. "It looks like you're in perfect condition," Haley said as Peter lifted him outside of the machine. "Now I just need to ask you a few questions." Logan had come up with a backstory that was plausible according to the situation. It detailed how the Dalki had attacked their group and he had run away, luckily escaping the fiasco. He traveled through the desert for many days, eventually reaching a shelter. The problem was, it was the wrong shelter. The shelter only had teleporters that linked to other planets, and none back to Earth or the military base, but he found out the shelter he had come from wasn't too far. He stayed until he regained his strength and purchased a map, leading him to the original shelter and eventually returned to the military base. Once the questioning was over, Haley left Peter to be with a soldier, guarding him as he rested, while she went off to report to Nathan. "So, how is the boy?" Nathan asked. "Thankfully, he seems to be in perfect condition health-wise, but—" Haley hesitated. "But what?" Nathan replied. "It seems like his mind isn't all there. Sometimes his response was quite rigid, and there seemed to be a lack of emotion. Pio didn't have any of these signs before, although this could be due to the trauma of being attacked by the Dalki." "That's great news," Nathan said. "As long as the student is fine, it'll be okay. We can inform his parents about the good news for now. Have him rejoin classes tomorrow." As Haley left the room, Nathan went to pick up the files on his desk as he read through them one by one. "An orange portal outing? What are they thinking?" Nathan said. It was late that night, and the others had left the room to go to sleep. Just before they left the room, Fex had spotted something on Logan's workbench. It was a square-shaped portable teleporter. While the others were busy saying their goodbyes while friendly chatting with each other, Fex decided to move closer to have a look. It looked like he had the square teleport device hooked up via some cables leading upward to the computer screen. "He can't be trying to crack the thing, can he? This is bad," Fex thought. As everyone headed back to their rooms, Fex managed to pull Quinn to the side just before they were about to part ways. "Just a little warning to you, Quinn. The device that Logan has been tinkering around with on his workbench, it's a portal leading back home. You need to do everything you can to stop him." Fex left after warning Quinn before he could even ask any questions. "What was that all about?" Quinn murmured. He then decided to carefully think about what Fex had said. By home, there could only be one place Fex was talking about. It was where the vampires came from. Still unsure whether or not that was somewhere on Earth or another planet, or at least a place hidden from the human eye. He understood that he needed to stop Logan before he figured it out. The only thing Quinn didn't understand was why Fex seemed so concerned. Quinn then thought of his first meeting with Fex. He mentioned something along the lines that he wasn't meant to be here. "If what you are thinking is along those lines, then I'm afraid the situation is worse," the system said. "Based on the boy's young age and at the same time, his great skill, it would be wise to assume he holds a high position in one of the vampire families. If he is not here on orders, then they will send others on his trail to retrieve him. We need to be careful." The next day, the first-year students were called into the assembly hall for a meeting once again. Nathan walked onto the stage. "Okay, I'm not one for speeches, so let's get to the point," Nathan said. "This year the military has decided to expand their operation and get more aggressive in planetary explorations," Nathan explained. "So, what does that mean for you guys? Well, instead of the normal green portal, you guys get to jump ahead and explore an orange portal instead." Hearing the news, the students suddenly broke into gossip. "An orange portal this soon? I thought they only did that with the second years. Why would they do this to us, especially after the Dalki attack?" "Silence!" Nathan shouted. "Don't worry, there will be 2 sergeants sent out with you on this journey. Leo, head of the Beast Weapon class, and Faye. Faye then took over and walked to the podium. You will remain in your teams of 5 while traveling in the larger group of 50. Each team will be given a certain device that would be used to survey the land and map out the terrain. The data recorded will be used to automatically create a world map and other maps for future use on the planet. More details will be explained once the devices have been given to you. The hall of students quickly shifted around, with everyone getting into the same groups they were in before. Quinn, Vorden, and Layla remained in one group. Peter, now known as Pio, had decided to come over to join Quinn's group. So what do we do about the 5th person? Vorden inquired. As Quinn looked around the room, he noticed once again that Fex was all on his own. Seeing this, Quinn shouted, "Fex, come join us over here." Fex came rushing over towards the others. "I guess you guys realized how lame your group is," Fex said, his tone indicating that he was proud of himself. "So you immediately needed me to boost it up a level. Well, if you insist." Upon hearing that, an awkward smile made its way to Quinn's face. He merely wanted to be close to Fex, hoping he would eventually learn more about the vampire world. While everyone was huddled up in their groups, there seemed to be 3 stray students that had walked up to the front of the assembly hall, going straight to stand by Faye's side. As she looked into the crowd of people, she started to look at each of the groups. Every single one of them was already filled with 5 people. "You there, and you." She surveyed the room one more time, and her eye had managed to capture Vorden. "And you. You can head to those at the back," she said. Vorden was the one with the most knowledge in the group, and he was saying how it varied from place to place. The orange portal was amidst 2 stages. Once the whole planet had been explored, they would use the information that they had gathered to update its status to green or red. Just then, a voice echoed loudly within the hall. "Hello?" Sia said as she entered the circle. "You," Vorden replied, shocked that he saw Sia. "What are you doing here?" "Sergeant Faye has asked me to join your team," Sia explained. Right now, everyone in their team knew of each other's abilities. However, Sia knew nothing. If she was to join the team, it would only slow them down. Sia then looked at each of the members. "So I'm already acquainted with the hottie and puppy eyes over there," she said, referring to both Vorden and Layla. "But what about the rest of you?" Then she pointed at each one of them as she continued to provide them with nicknames. "Average Joe over there," pointing to Quinn. "Dead Eyes," pointing to Peter. "And..." When she got to Fex, she paused slightly. "Go on then," Fex said. "Compliment me on my good looks." "Arrogant young master type," she said. Sia looked defeated and appeared like she didn't want to be in the group at all. Not realizing that they felt the same way, "Well, we better get to introducing everyone then. If we have to work as a team, I guess the first thing we need to know is about everyone's abilities, right?" Sia asked. When the question asking about their abilities arose, everyone in the circle was a bit hesitant to answer. "I don't have an ability," Quinn quickly answered. All the while, after seeing this, she quickly ignored him and moved on to the next person. Quinn was fine with this. "I already know Layla's, and most people learned about that pretty boy after the event with the second years in the assembly hall. That means I just need to know yours," Sia said as she looked at Peter. Peter then gave Sia a rather uncordial glance, since he wasn't in a great mood. What annoyed him wasn't Sia's attitude towards him, but her disregard for Quinn, his master. "I can show you firsthand if you want," Peter said, raising his fist. "Peter!" Quinn snapped. So Peter immediately put his fist down and went back to his master's side. "What the hell was that all about?" Sia asked in bewilderment. "Don't you think you should tell us your ability first before asking for ours?" Vorden questioned. "Well, my ability will be a little hard to explain, so why don't I just show you?" Sia looked at all the people in the group. At first, she would have tried using her ability against Peter. However, judging by how he acted, she didn't want to do that now. Out of all the people in the group, there seemed to be one target that stood out as the weakest. As Sia lifted her hand, smoke gradually appeared on top of her palms. The smoke was colored in the shade of blue that the skies had. It started to form a certain shape. Its body was similarly hued to the smoke. After a brief window, a pointed blade emerged on one end of the fully formed thin rod. The final product was a short spear, spanning half of Sia's height, made of animate smoke. Without warning, she looked towards her target and threw the spear. It flew through the air and managed to hit Quinn dead in the chest. "Quinn!" Layla shouted. "Are you okay?" When the spear had made contact with Quinn, he felt no pain. Although he could feel the object piercing him, it didn't seem to have inflicted any physical damage. No bruises, scratches, or holes where blood could trickle. Still, there was definitely an effect. Part of his energy felt like it was being absorbed by the weapon. It was a similar feeling to when he was out in the sun, only a lot weaker. Finally, the notification sound was heard. "You have been affected by Spirit Spear. All stats have been reduced by 10%. "What did you do to me?" Quinn said, his anger evident in his voice that became a bit deeper. The others had never seen Quinn like this before, so they were stunned. Meanwhile, filled with rage, Quinn started to walk toward Sia. Right now, Quinn was unsure what Sia's skill was. All he knew was it had reduced his stats by 10%. If this was a permanent effect, then he would have lost a lot of hard work. "Is this guy really a level 1? Sia thought, as she looked into the anger that was swimming in Quinn's eyes. She wasn't sure if she imagined it or not, but she thought she could see the color of his eyes slowly starting to turn red. "Hey, Quinn, relax," Vex said as he jumped in between the two of them before Quinn could even act. He then leaned forward and whispered to Quinn, making sure his body and head were blocking Sia from seeing him. "Quinn, your eyes, they're red. You need to control your anger and calm down," Vex advised. However, as Quinn thought about how hard he had worked to gather those stat points and them going away just like that, his anger started to boil again. "Spirit Spear has worn off. Stats have returned to normal." The spear that impaled his chest slowly dissipated into thin air, and the energy seemed to return to his body. At the same time, his mind was suddenly cleared along with his anger. "Hey, did you really think I would hurt you in front of all these teachers and students? It looks like I've joined a team of crazy people," Sia complained. "A support ability?" Vorden said. Sia simply nodded as a response to Vorden's query. "It allows the user to form spirit weapons in their mind. When this spirit hits its target, it can either act as a buff or debuff. When my ability hits, it is able to debuff the target for 5 seconds, and then the effect wears off. Because I'm only a level 3 though, the amount of time the spear lasts is only 3 seconds, and the distance I can throw the spear is quite short." The others didn't want to admit it, but having Sia on the team would be a great addition. Support-type abilities were greatly sought after. "Anyway, it looks like this group won't amount to much," Sia uttered. "So why don't we just meet up on the day of the portal outing? There's no point training together within the 2 days left prior to the expedition." "I agree. Why don't we all do our own thing before the portal outing? It's been a tiring week, and I think some of us can do with some rest," Quinn said. Before the others could even say anything, Sia was already walking off. The assembly had ended, and students were told that, until the portal outing, they would have the next 2 days off. While everyone was busy doing their own business, Quinn had arrived at the VR gaming room. With the nanostick that had been given to him, he no longer needed to bug Logan. Accordingly, he headed to his room in order to use the private servers. "Now, let's see what you got. Tutorial video for skill Phantom Hit has begun." The VR room was the best place to practice, and now that he had access to Logan's private server, it meant Quinn could also practice his shadow abilities freely. The first thing Quinn was going to do was have a look at the new tutorial video he had unlocked after learning the vampire martial arts. "Phantom Punch tutorial." "Hello there," the blonde man in a cheery voice said in the video. "In my opinion, this is one of the most useful skills to have. But just a little warning, this skill seems to work better with beings with a high level of intelligence, namely humanoid creatures. When testing this against a beast, it has little to no effect. To perform this skill based on the system stats, you will need at least 15 points of agility and 10 points of charm. These are the minimum requirements. Now, as you increase your points into charm and agility, this skill will work even better. While in a fight, you will aim your punch in a certain direction to start. Before the first movement is made, your charm skill will take slight control of the user's mind. To them, an image will appear and make it look like the punch has continued heading in the initial direction. But in fact, this will be a phantom punch. While the user is dodging or trying to block it, the real blow will come from somewhere else. This skill works even better if you have high enough agility. you will be able to perform several phantom punches at once, confusing your opponent. But be careful, just like with Days, it has a chance of not working well. This is why I recommend you to increase your charm points when possible. He explained it by saying it should feel similar to when Quinn would use the Days skill. He should gather that feeling again and try to focus it through his eyes. Then, using his strong will and the image in his head, he would be able to project a fist outward. This in turn would allow the opponent to see the same thing. After hearing the explanation, Quinn didn't think it would be too hard, but just practicing it, not using it against an opponent, he found out it was extremely difficult. If he projected thoughts to target the head and tried punching below, as soon as he thought too much about hitting the head, his fist would automatically hit upward. Still, Quinn wasn't the type to give up. As he repeated the move several times, he could slowly separate his thoughts and actions into two separate things. He didn't know whether it was because he was in the game or trying to split his thought into two, but he would often get headaches as he pictured himself using the charm ability while forcing the energy outward from his eyes. Your dedication has paid off. You have pushed your charm skill to the limit several times. Charm stat +1. Charm 13. It was the first time a stat point had increased without him leveling up or consuming blood. The system was clear that it was a fact that Quinn had continuously pushed himself while trying to learn the skill. Switching servers. Blood Evolver is online. Matchmaking in progress. Opponent found. There were myriads of abilities that could help you work better in this field, but nothing could compare to the greatness of the human mind when it came to creative thinking and engineering, which led to the creation of these fields. Nate had gotten one of these said people to set up a system in which he would get notified when the Blood Evolver was online. Recently, he had also added the new user Zombie P to that list as well. While Nate was relaxing with his best friend Sam, as usual, he received a notification. Nate immediately headed off towards the capsule. Quinn had been matched up with another level 4 user, but unlike the ones he fought against previously. This user was also wearing beast gear around his chest. As he turned his head around, Quinn made sure to look him in the eyes, just as the video tutorial had said. He activated his charm the same way when he used the Daze skill. Now all he needed to do was project the thought strongly, using his mind of aiming to punch the head, while the real punch would come from below. Everything was going perfect so far, and he could imagine hitting the person in the head. Then his fist made contact, but instead of receiving feedback from hitting the body, the punch had been blocked with the other user's hand, which was guarding his face. "No, I thought I did it perfectly. Why did my attack go for the head?" Quinn thought. Quinn previously thought he had perfected the Phantom Punch, but using it with no opponent and using it against a real opponent were two different things. With the pressure to perform perfectly and with the enemy standing in front of him, his concentration lagged at some point, so his attack failed. Eventually, the match had ended, and Quinn unsurprisingly lost. Nate was speechless. He thought he was the only person who had beaten the Blood Evolver before, and the one he knew now was a lot stronger than before. Once again, Quinn went into the next match. Nate stayed and watched carefully, but it seemed to be nearly an exact copy of the last game. After watching 4 matches, the Blood Evolver had lost 4 times in a row. There were a few others who had become fans as well, and they were nearly just as disappointed as him with the results they were seeing right now. No one would usually lose a match without giving it everything they got, and in the last 4 games, Quinn didn't use a single skill other than the Flash Step and the failed Phantom Punch. After losing 5 matches in a row, the only person that kept on watching Blood Evolver's matches was Nate. He didn't know why, but he felt that there had to be a reason for all the strange actions that Blood Evolver did in the past matches. The reason for his thinking was the fact that Quinn had lost every game doing the same thing. Only an idiot would do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. As the next match started, Quinn now looked more confident than he did before. His opponent was a female. The ability for now was unknown, as the inspection skill didn't work in-game. Quinn rushed forward as usual, but this time, no attacks were aimed at him. When this happened, it usually meant the person he was going up against had a transformation or hardening ability, the perfect opponent for the Phantom Strike. Quinn lifted his fist and aimed for the woman's head. As she saw the punch, a large spike appeared on her face. If Quinn was to carry on moving forward, then the spike would go right through his hand. She could see the punch rushing forward and about to go through the spike. A smile appeared on her face, but suddenly she felt pain in her stomach as she keeled over. Phantom punch skills successfully learned. The fist hadn't hit her head, but struck her stomach instead. Quinn continued using the phantom punch in this fashion, successfully landing hit after hit, while on the outside, Nate, who was watching the entire thing, was deeply confused. All he could see was Quinn's opponent forming spikes and blocking the attacks in the wrong places. It was clear where the punches were coming from, so why was she constantly blocking in the wrong place? The match had finally ended, and Quinn had been declared the winner, but Nate was even more confused now. However, after watching the Blood Evolver's next 3 games, and each one of them coming out in a victory in the same fashion, goosebumps started to appear all over his body. Once the system had confirmed Quinn that he had learned Phantom Punch, everything got a lot easier from then onwards. Instead of concentrating on the feeling like he did before, now all he had to do was think about the skill, and his mind would automatically do the work for him. Finally, the day had arrived. It was the weekend, and all the first-year students were told to gather inside the portal room once again. It was time to go through the orange portal. All the groups present, please raise their orange scanning devices, Dell said, as he raised the scanner for everyone to see. You will only need to point it at an object. You can see that on the screen. You can select the area or item that you want to scan. It will try its best to break down the information it has received and display it on the screen for you, although this is not the goal of the expedition. What you students need to do is look for things on the planet which have never been scanned before, and this includes beasts. In your teams, each newly scanned object will earn you points. If the item has been scanned before, you will receive no points. There is quite a range on these scanners. Before engaging in combat, it will scan every beast that is within your vision. The most useful thing about these scanners is that, even if they have never seen a beast before, it will be able to tell you what level the beast is at. After the explanation with the scanners was over, Dell went on to tell them how the expedition would work between the classes. Each class, together with their homeroom teacher, would be sent off to a certain area. When they reached their assigned space, the class would stay there for a while, allowing every one of the students to scan the area thoroughly. If they were to run into a beast with a tier higher than intermediate, they were advised to fall back and tell the teacher immediately. The homeroom teacher would then inform the generals, who would come to their aid as soon as possible. As soon as Dell's lecture was finished, the groups began making their final preparations. While Quinn was looking around, he noticed that Logan was already tinkering around with the scanner, no doubt making adjustments to the scanner's system. All of a sudden, he felt a soft touch on his shoulder, interrupting his observations. "Hey, do you need one of these if we're going outside?" Fex said as he waved a strange object in front of Quinn. It looked like a flask made out of silver. The only difference was that, on the facade of the flask, a skull that had 2 sharp fangs on the upper jaw was displayed. It was a strange design for Quinn. If you used a normal flask, the blood would spoil in a few days. However, this one is especially used within the circle of vampires to keep blood fresh, Fex explained. Fex then pulled out a similarly styled flask from the inside of his shirt and handed it straight over to Quinn. Finally, Dell had begun to call each group into the portal. The group took a step forward as they prepared for what was to come in their orange portal expedition.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.